Hello and welcome to Life After Lupus. My name is Andrea Lendy and thought it would be fun to share a chapter on Sunday nights for Sunday night story time with me. Kind of cozy up on a Sunday evening and listen to a chapter about my journey from sickness to health. I've written this book called Life After Lupus. What's your autoimmune name? And now more than ever, people are being diagnosed with autoimmune. However, there is health and wellness inside of autoimmune. I've experienced it for myself. And when we do the right things, the healthy things, our bodies tend to heal. They want to do what they're made to do, and that's be well and allow us, support us in living a wonderful, full life, doing what we're meant to do here on this planet. So, I was diagnosed with both lupus and fibromyalgia at one time in my life, also Graves' disease, and I've healed from all of those chronic illnesses. So this Sunday evening story time is a time where I can share my experience with you a little bit more than even what's in the book. I can embellish a bit, and so I so enjoy sharing this on these Sunday evenings. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you very, very much. The next chapter in the book this evening is called The First Round of Doctors. I would see a lot of doctors during these 3 years that it took me to get well. But this was the first round. I had just been to Hawaii and experienced some difficulty breathing, extreme difficulty breathing, getting back on the flights. But as we landed for the last and final time in Denver, Colorado, and I got enough rest, some of those symptoms, those breathing symptoms, seemed to dissipate, at least for a time, not forever though. So, title of our next chapter, First Round of Doctors. The symptoms I had experienced on the way back from Hawaii had seemed to become less severe over the next few days, and I dismissed the idea of anything being seriously wrong for a short time. However, one day at work, just after finishing up lunch, and I had a tuna sandwich, I was again under the spell of laborious breathing. This time, I immediately scheduled an appointment with my doctor and left work early to embark on a health journey that would be one of the most difficult journeys of my life. I had no idea that initial doctor visit would lead to so many more doctor's visits as we were frantically trying to figure out what was wrong. My primary care physician didn't really know what was affecting my breathing issues and recommended I see an allergist. Well, I have to tell you, I was panicked by then. I could not get a deep breath. And no matter how hard I tried, I felt like I just wasn't getting any breath at all. I asked if there was any possibility of getting into one that afternoon because I really didn't want to go home with the same sensation of not being able to breathe any longer. She made a few phone calls and scheduled me with an allergist who was the first of many doctors I would see over the next few years. And that allergist, as you'll see later on, was the perfect doctor for me to see. He had interned in a lupus clinic as a young doctor, and so he recognized my symptoms, although he didn't say anything. The allergist took a look at me and listened to my symptoms and asked me at least 100 questions. The questions didn't seem to have any cohesiveness to them or relevance to my condition. I couldn't tell what he was looking to discover because they all seemed so random and didn't lead to any definitive diagnosis that he spoke of during that visit. However, he knew exactly what he was looking for and ordered so many blood tests that I thought the phlebotomist was going to use every vial in her box. I wondered if I had any blood left. The tests he ordered were specialized tests that had to be sent out of state for diagnostic purposes, so we would wait several weeks for the results. And those several weeks were almost intolerable for me physically. And it was just a super difficult time because I was having a hard time breathing during those few weeks. Saw a bunch more doctors, and it was just a really horrific time. The doctor didn't tell me what he was testing for, and at that time I hadn't asked him what he thought might be the problem. I just answered his questions and gave lots and lots of blood to be tested. I left the allergist's office with no information about a possible diagnosis, but seemed satisfied that someone was looking into what was causing the inability for me to take a full breath. He seemed interested. He wanted to know everything about me, and so I seemed satisfied that he was at least looking. I continued on the only regimen I knew, taking antihistamines to keep my airways open. This resulted in constant, extreme drowsiness and fatigue. The fatigue I was then experiencing, coupled with the difficulty in breathing, would become my new normal for the years to come. Over the next coming days and nights, my breathing became laborious again, and I contacted the allergist. I was frantic. He recommended staying calm when I was frantic as my symptoms worsened and my desire to check into the emergency room became overwhelming. At one point, he advised me to go if I really felt I needed the assistance. Now I know it's important to stay out of the ER if at all possible. But back then, I was desperate. I acted out of desperation. I did go, and the emergency room doctor recommended I see a doctor who could test me for gallbladder problems because he was suspicious that this could be causing the stomach distress that was affecting my breathing. That office visit took me to another doctor, the gallbladder doctor, which was another road that we went down. The appointment was scheduled, and yet another doctor came into our world to try and assess my condition. Before I left the emergency room, the doctor looked intently at me and said that I seemed to be a very stressed out young lady. I was only 30 at the time, but I was flying airplanes, I was working on learning to teach other people how to fly. I was really working through all the ratings, high stress there, and then I worked a full-time job as well. So busy to say the least. And I lived in Minneapolis at the time, flew out of downtown St. Paul. So I was always in traffic and could often be found eating a bowl of Fruit Loops or something in bed by about 9 p.m. at night. Not healthy, not self-sustaining in terms of my physical body. At that time, I simply thought that the illness was the stressor, but I would later discover that I needed to alter my way of life and address my emotional and spiritual needs to become completely well. Yes, my body was failing, and it was failing fast. It wasn't working for me anymore. And at one point down the road, it just quit. It was not going to do what I was asking it to do anymore. But part of that was spiritual as well, and emotional. I needed to tend to what was going on in here. And sometimes our bodies have a way of telling us that ahead of time. So kind of this body breakdown gave me some time to be able to seek out other things that needed to be tended to that I had so disregarded for at least 5 years and probably longer. So this begins my journey of seeing doctors and trying to determine what on earth could be going on with this body that was shutting down very rapidly. I encourage you to stay tuned next week for another chapter in my book, Life After Lupus, What is Your Autoimmune Name? I share my story in the hopes that it will open up the possibility of health and wellness and healing for you or someone that you love. Maybe you found me because there's someone that you deeply care about that is going through something like what I went through. So stay tuned. I love to share a little bit more behind the scenes of what was going on than just what's in the book. But as we work through this book, it will give you a wonderful journey to wellness after being so sick, and hopefully give you some ideas about what you can implement in your life to become more well, whether it is physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever may be your issues. We all have them, and we all get these lovely journeys to walk down in order to help others. I truly believe that. These were difficult days for me at best, and on the other side of those days, I want to offer help to others in need. So may you be blessed this week, and tune in to my short daily Life After Lupus videos to give you some encouragement for your days. Again, my name is Andrea Lendy. I am an author. My books are available on Amazon.com, including this one, Life After Lupus, which are autoimmune name. I also write daily devotions and prayers, and I've written a lovely mother's book called A Mother's Love. They are poems and prayers that I've written for my children over the years that may bless you as well. You can find me on Amazon again. So if you're interested in more on the spiritual side, I have a website called believinghim.com where you can tune into those daily devotions and prayers. I also have a podcast called Downloads from God if you'd rather listen than read, trying to come to you in every way possible to better your life, your world, your perspective, and your spirit. Thank you.